would like to start? Maybe Mary Ann, since I think she's the only one that had laydowns.
Yeah, and I will apologize. I didn't understand that they were for today's work session. I thought they were for the meeting next week.
Mary Ann?
Can I make a general comment before Mary Ann starts?
Yes.
So, wanted to say I've had some conversations with Mary Ann this week, and I'm just super psyched with where we're at. So aside from all the usual stuff, we're going to say thank you, Mary Ann, because thank you, Mary Ann, for everything she's doing. She's really making progress. What she's going to need from the commission at this point is she's in edit land with everybody over and over and over again. She's getting really close to a product. She's going to share one of them with us today. And really over the coming next week and into our meeting next week and so on, you're going to start seeing her talking about us needing to finalize. And as much as we really want it to be a participatory thing where everybody continues to give edits and things like that, she's kind of getting to that point where she's going to have to put something on paper and something in print. So I'll tell you that she has been exceedingly patient because she'll tell you she's shown everything to owners. She's shown Capra, Pileski, anyone who wants input, the state. This is a funny analogy. We've taken things and cut them down to the 250, 300 words we were told to, and then we'll send them to people who bring them back to us at 600 words. So extreme patience has been utilized, and then she asked for our help. That's where I would ask is just from the project manager standpoint. She's doing the heavy lifting on the edit side and the content side, and we're kind of getting to that point where she's going to need to put some deadlines on it. So if she sounds like, I need this now, just know that she's got my full support on I need this now. Yeah. And I'm one of the worst too, to help her out. But we're getting close. It's super exciting. So thank you, Mary Ann. That's my little bit of disclaimer and trying to support you in this effort.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBrecq. Commissioner Benoit?
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay. Let's see here. I'm trying to see. Can you see anything?
We can see the top of it.
Where is it? Can I not see the whole thing? Okay, so you can see the top of it. How come it doesn't show the whole screen? I'm not quite sure why that's happening. Dustin, can you help here? Or George?
Are you just trying to share the application itself, or are you sharing the entire screen in Zoom?
I'm trying to share my screen, but for some reason I just see the top little bar.
But are you trying to just share the application itself in Zoom instead of the entire screen? That's what I'm trying to ask.
I don't know what you mean.
You're trying to show a document.
Yes, I get
I'm trying to show a document on my screen. And let me try it again. Okay. Can you see anything?
Okay, there we go. Yay!
Okay. See if I can make this bigger. Okay, so this is kind of like the progress spreadsheet I made to try to keep track of all the little parts. So what's happening is our deadline to get all the sign materials to Corvus Designs was this past Wednesday, and we did that. Everything, all the narratives, all the photos, all the stuff is in there. We actually had quite a few things in there way before that. And as a matter of fact, I've been working with Peter on trying to finalize edits on 10 signs that were already in there before. And that's, other things were in there before, but we were trying to just work on this batch of 10 and kind of get them nailed down so that we could use those to learn from for the next batch. So at this point, everything is in there. I've been working with Peter on updates for those first 10 signs. Every single sign has gone through review by me, the people that wrote the document, by SHPO, by Doug Capra, by Lee Pileski, by Resurrection Bay Historical Society. And of course, with that comes a lot of back and forth and changes, and so everyone may not have seen every single edit, but everyone has had input, and I've done my best to finalize it. So now the thing that's happening is, once they go into the sign designer, he puts them on a sign. So spatially now we're looking at them and going, okay, here's your narrative and here's your photos and all the things you wanted to put in here. But there's this blank space over here. We need another photo. Or your narrative's too long, so we need to take some words out and put a picture in. Or maybe you have, too many pictures and you don't have enough narrative. Can you please flesh out the story about this or that? So then that happens. And that requires, in some cases, ordering some photos and doing more work and doing more research and things like that. So it's just like, to make it look good on the paper and on the sign. That's the next part of the process. And then after that, it's reviewing what you think is final and going, that doesn't make sense, or you got to fix this, grammatical error. There's 2 periods over here, things like that. So that's what we're doing right now. When I talked to him the other day, he said by the end of the day on Monday, there's going to be 22 signs for me to review. We have 26 so far. So the first 10 of those are ones I've already reviewed once, and it's going to be taking a final look to go, the edits I suggested, are they all done? Does it look good? Then I'm going to send those out to you guys to look at, and I'll send them to the property owners, and I'll send them to SHPO and to all the different people once again and say, hey, this is pretty much close to being final. Do you have anything that stands out to you that's really important that needs to be adjusted because it's historically inaccurate? There's something wrong. There's something really important left out. Really, important things. Not like, well, I think we should change the story to this. No, we're not going to go back and do that. It's more like this is the final review. Is there anything you see that needs to be fixed? Because once we say yes to that, they're ready for us to vote on and then go to the sign manufacturer. So we'll have 10 of those after I take a look at them that we can start looking at. The other ones I'll kind of go through the review process with him and just make sure that I think that, here's all the changes I think needs to happen. Then he'll fix that. Then I'll send those out to everybody so that you guys are only looking at what's kind of like we think is pretty much final. And then when that happens, like I say, I'll send out a message and be like, can you please review this by this date? And these are the specific comments I'm looking for and the format to submit them back. And if you don't have comments, and I don't hear from you, I'll just assume you're good. So I do appreciate when that happens. If you really look, really read every sign and look at it, because even though I've, checked these documents and they've gone through like 20,000 edits, once they get moved from the narrative document to the sign, sometimes weird things happen. I've seen like, oh, now all of a sudden there's a couple extra parentheses or a couple extra periods, or something's missing, or something. He might change the narrative to fit and be a sign designer to tell the story better, in his opinion. And so sometimes things get a little messed up in that process, so you really have to look for those details. Take the time, because once we manufacture it, that mistake's going to be out there for 25 years. So that's why I'm asking to really take the time when you do the review and read the whole thing. Okay, let's see. I have one sign I wanted to show you so you could see what an example is. So let me share that one. And can you see this? Okay, so this is a sign for the Standard Oil Company, the Standard Oil Manager's House, which is Adams Street B&B that I designed. And some things to take a look at besides the narrative and the pictures. You can see up here on the right-hand corner, that's the QR code, which will bring people to the website, the city website, and to our page that's basically going to have the histories, plus all the credits, the sources, and all the extra details, plus it'll have a copy of the actual walking tour map when we're done. So all they have to do is walk up with their phone, hold that up, and they can go there. Down here, on the bottom, you can see, except this thing is in the way, not sure how to make that get off the screen. Okay. You can see here. Let's see if I can make this bigger.
That's awesome.
Yeah, agreed. Marianne,
thank
you're
you.
just awesome, incredible, wonderful, visionary.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Trying to see if I can make it a little bit bigger.
So we can see your credits if that's what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to show you like all the logos down
Yeah.
here on the. Let me see here. Okay. So you can see how the logos look.
They look wonderful.
Not sure if you're seeing this little thing here.
That's
I'm trying to
okay.
get it off the screen, but I can't make it move.
Well, we can see it looks great.
Okay, so anyway, our logo basically has been in square. It's been kind of like that cream color and the green, et cetera, et cetera. And the different logos have different colors. And so the sign designer recommended that they just all be black and white. So basically, we took the colors out and did them like this, which I think looks good. It helps make things more consistent. Tongi had this idea, which I think is great. Instead of doing black and a black border, like his sign is at the cable house, he suggested using a color. So we just started off with this green color. And an idea I have had that I haven't had a chance to do anything with yet is there seems to be no consistency as far as colors go related to historical stuff in Seward, but there is like a start. So, for example, if you look down at like the train station, it's like a green color, and then down at Branson Pavilion or whatever, the city built that pavilion, they did like a green color. And so it's almost like there's a start of a color theme. And what I thought I could do is I could go down and measure. I have this little spectrometer. I could measure the color of the greens that are being used because I think they're basically the same green. And I could figure out exactly what that color is and get the hex code so I can give it to the sign designer and he could match that color for this border. So that was just a thought for that.
How close is the green that we're looking at, which looks wonderful, with, you know, the logo colors and the sign itself, that cream? How close is this green to the green you're talking about?
It's like, this color is darker, and it's a similar shade, but it's a lot darker color.
Well, I like it.
So, I mean, what I could do is I could try to get the color from down there, like Branson Pavilion. I could get the color of our logo, I think actually this darker color for a background border looks better than the color we have in our logo because that's a lighter shade. The darker it is, the more contrast is going to be with these logos down here in white.
Yeah.
So back to that. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at with that. Oh, so a product that we need to do, let's share a different thing. A product that we need to create is a walking tour map, which is basically going to have a map, and it's going to have like, can you see something that says
Yeah.
walking tour map? Okay. So it's basically, you know, like previous one, it's going to have a map and going to have like little summaries of the things that you're looking for. So I started something just because I have all the documents for all of our signs. So what I did was I took each sign, I put the address, the name, if we had given, you know, if we had a name for it, the little title, and the date of the property. And then I looked at the summary and created some kind of like little summarized version that what I could come up with in a couple sentences that I think was the gist of the story. And just put something together for all of the properties. I sent this to you. I realized already, Tangi pointed out there was a little error. I think Marathon Apartments came up twice or something, but this is just a draft. It was just to show you what I think we could do for the walking tour map. And these may be too long, I'm not sure, but this is like the first cut of like what we could do. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is to see if you like it. Plus, there's a bunch of places that should be on this that people don't have a sign because we either didn't have funding and they said, yeah, I want to be on the tour, but they're going to have to wait to get a sign for later. But they should be on this list. There's also some places that should be on the list that already have a sign, like Hoban Park, like the Cable House, things like that. But still, they need to be on the map and they need to be on this list. And so my hope is we need to get that done. I've already done these 26, and let me share one more thing. And so this is kind of a list I put together of ones that I think these are people that said, yeah, I want a sign, or I think should be on the walking tour map. We need like little summaries. And so I put this up because I'm hoping people will volunteer to actually do this and create a little blurb of 2 or 3 sentences in the same format as what I just showed you. Because whoever's going to create this map for us, and Tangi is looking into somebody to do that, they're going to need all this information. They can't do it from scratch. So we have to give them this with the addresses. They can create the map, and then they can line this stuff up on the document.
So the vision of the map,
whatever.
Yes, Commissioner
Go
LeBrun.
ahead.
agreeing and supporting what you're saying. So the vision of the map in theory, what I'm having a conversation with now, we're trying to get a quote on a 2-sided map that would have, say, color on one side showing all the different locations, which would include the 26 that have a sign. And here there's a list of close to 20 of others that are interested. Example, Hotel Seward, but do not have signs this time. And it would literally be a 2 or 3 sentence thing. All that would be onto one side would be all narrative, just like what Commissioner Benoit is showing you. And then the other side would reference a map that would have those locations pinpointed out. So that's kind of what we're looking at in a rough format. Whether we can get QR codes or anything there at some point, and then back to the website, that would be ideal. The part that would that would require work for just the map would just be the 2 or 3 sentences, like what you just saw Commissioner Benoit showed you. However, if it took you back to the website, you might have, 5, 6 lines or something a little bit more detailed about that particular property. So, for example, Urbox might only have 2 sentences because there's the room on the map. But when you would do the QR code or just go to the website, it might have 7 or 8 or sentences, something a little bit closer to the 250 words or so that we've done for the sign. So that's what's that?
I was going to say what I foresee happening is that the website is going to actually have our actual narratives that we created for the signs, which is 250, 300 words, whatever. It probably won't have all the photos. It'll probably just be the words because we've got photo permission to just use for the signs, not to put on the web. So unless we're going to go through that process and ask, it's just going to be the words. The map is just going to have a little summary of that. So I see that all these places will have the full history plus the credits on the website. So all these places that I have on the screen right now, ultimately we want to have a good history. And the walking tour map just has the little summary. But for this map that we have to create, we have to have that first. Even if we don't have the other things fleshed out yet, because that takes time, we still need to have that little summary first for the map.
So the commitment is just to help again certify whether those folks these are all people who have responded at one point saying that they had some type of interest, whether they're ready or not for now, or whether they have any information for us. We don't know that at this point, but so the walking tour part on the website will be the 25 or 26 properties that's already written narrative for, and then any additions for people who agree to be part of the walking tour. So it'll be, you would take that property, we have all the reference in the spreadsheet, pick phone call, follow up, hey, and some of these we've already talked about, like for example, Commissioner Ward has agreed, I'm going to give her some wording and so on from the letter. She's going to contact Ms. Casagrande and talk to her about getting some content for the walking tour, knowing that she's not getting assigned this time, but that she will be on the walking tour. And we want to make sure that we get, wording that she's happy with.
Yeah, and if nothing else, if you had something that was like 223 6th Avenue, and maybe you give it a name like, if they want to have the owner's name on there, and just have the date that the house was built. If nothing else, you have something. It's better to have more than that, or you could ask these people and say, for now, if we don't have any history at all, do you want to just be left off this tour map until we can find out more? We should at least ask them if they'd like that. And here's a question for you. These 2 things I put down here on the bottom, like Blaine House, Liberty Theater. We did not hear back from Blaine House or Liberty Theater, but to me they seem like important places to actually have on the map.
Right.
You have to pull something out and say something in a couple sentences. So to me, it's like, what can you say except like the main point?
Well, that makes sense.
I agree with you, Marianne. I disagree, Cheryl, because we've done a tremendous amount of work. To ask us to do more work for a map, I'm happy to pull out just a brief description of what they're going to read more extensively.
That sounds good.
I just see this. We need to come to some kind of closure. Also, I want to let you know, Marianne, that this sheet that you have up is incorrect. Once again, my name is on houses that I have no understanding that I was responsible for, and the one house that I was responsible for, my name isn't again. Also, Tongi, I have talked to Reese. She's already been contacted.
Well, thank you.
So, but I agree with Marianne. We don't need additional information. We have enough to make it work.
Okay, so this list is just like my just looking through the list, the spreadsheet.
But I got caught out with that before, Marianne. So I'm going to make sure it's right because I don't want to be caught out again.
I don't really care who does which. I've already done 26 of them, and so I'm just hoping you guys will volunteer to take these on. Whoever will just adjust who's doing what. I don't really care.
You know what, Mary Ann?
that's my-
I know you don't care, but I do. So if you would take my name off of 304 Second and put it against 315, I would be very happy.
Okay, so you want 315, and you want
That's the one that I was assigned from day one.
304.
I was assigned that one from day one.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my, right.
And I also
I'm
like,
assisting,
I also like the
Commissioner Ward, some of this may come from, these are just notes that come from the spreadsheet. They may have even been things that I moved around incorrectly, so.
yeah, but I got caught
Okay,
out
great.
before, so I will make sure that anything comes out is correct.
Apologies, that may be my mistake on that one.
Valerie.
So, Commissioner Benoit, I like the idea of including Liberty Theater and Woodlawn. I have a little bit on Woodlawn because Carl Orlander was the one that purchased that initially, and I know Marie Fletcher, who owns Liberty Theater. So, you know, maybe I could flesh out some on those.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Valerie's had her hand up for a long time.
Oh, Miss Kingsley.
Thank you. I used a raise hand a while ago. I don't think that's being monitored. But yeah, so I just wanted to, from my end of it for the grant project, just wanted to make some clarification that it doesn't have to be like the final map in language. That's all, that can all be updated later, you know, with a future project. So for the purpose of the grant, we just want to be able to turn something in. I think that what Mary Ann has done is amazing because of all the projects, there's been so much work that's been done on the signs and that text and the photos that to have something already right now that we can work to turn in, even as a draft, is amazing to me. Because that was one of the things I was worried might get sidelined a little bit. So thank you so much, Mary Ann. I think that's a wonderful start. And it doesn't need to include to turn in anything but the properties for the project. So, you know, there'll be time later on to add, to edit, you know, to continue to build on it. So I just want to encourage you just, you know, to keep that in mind in terms of the actual grant deliverables.
Thank you, Miss Kingsland. And I didn't call on you because I can't see you. Your picture isn't on my screen.
No problem.
Sorry. Commissioner Benoit? Oh, she's frozen. Well, she might have been bleeped out like happens to me at home, and she'll try to get back on. You're muted, Sue.
Now we can see faces. She needed to
She
get
got
that
kicked off.
screen sharing off.
Okay. Yeah, she's been bleeped off, but I'm sure she's going to try to get back on. And,
In the meantime, if I could just share a few things.
sure.
I didn't know that the meeting was canceled, the work session was canceled last week, and I was planning to attend. But I wanted to let you know that I'll be on leave from April 6th to the 16th. And I don't see anything, you know, that I'm particularly concerned about. The map was really my only question, so to see some work done on it already, to me, is just amazing. You know, so like my perspective is very different from yours. I'm looking in terms of the report and the deliverables. I don't get a lot of the emails with, you know, some of the back and forth, and I don't need to, so I'm probably going to need some assistance with some of the reporting later on down the road. So, yay, Marianne's back on. So, Marianne, I was just sharing that that I'll be on leave from the April 6th to the 16th.
So, Miss Kingsland,
when I return.
Miss
I
Kingsland,
lost my
is there-
connection, so I
Right.
missed most of what you said after you said you were talking about whether we needed to do the map or not, I think, and then I kind of,
Yeah, hold on
got
just
kicked
a
out.
sec. Just a sec, Commissioner Benoit. Ms. Kingsland, is there anything that we need to be doing while you're on leave? Anything that, you know, we have to turn in or anything Tongi can cover? I mean, Commissioner
The
Brett?
only thing is your hours. So,
Okay.
so I'm missing some hours, so thank you. Love it. Yeah. So, yeah, because those do have to be reported at the end. So we have met our 300. So like the pressure, you know, to try to meet those 300 hours. Marianne, you've been putting so much time into this. That is just amazing. Thank you so much. So just continue to turn in your hours. Of course, if you have any invoices, anything that has to do with paying anybody, just include me, forward it to me, so I have a record and I can kind of go through it a little bit later to figure out what piece needs to be included in the report. So you don't have to worry about that part of it. Just forward it to me. Other than that, no, I think we're good.
Ms. Kingsland?
To avoid any general fears about what's happening from a financial standpoint, the only thing that we'll have so far for me to send is I've got about 5 receipts just recently gotten for pictures that I've ordered. They're very small, $25 to $40 kind of things. We have gotten a full quote. We've gotten a full pre-quote from Peter at Corvus Designs. He'll start actually sending us bills here within the next month as he gets batches of things done by Commissioner Benoit turned in. They'll start sending it to us in batches, but I've asked him, he knows that he's aware of, per your email, we've got to get every single invoice in and paid by June 30th. So those are the only real invoices that we have concerns about, and that's going to include the production of the sign, plus the posts and everything are going to get ordered at one point in the hardware. So those are the majority of the costs that we can anticipate at all, and he will start billing us on stuff here very shortly and monthly. We'll make sure we get them in. I also did a quick look at the budget, and we are within budget of where we need to be. I need to reorganize a couple of the categories in how it ends up being, but the total at the end is fine. And I've let the SHPO know that, and they don't seem really concerned about it. As long as we come in on the regular numbers, I'll make sure you're copying on any communication back and forth on that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, I
Wright.
think,
Ms.
in terms
Kingsland?
of the budget, my apologies.
Ms. Kingsland, can you please fill Commissioner Benoit in on what you were sharing?
Yes, absolutely. Just to get back to the budget just for a moment first, I just want to say the only other thing that I was kind of watching for were plans for the installation. Just because I know some of the companies that might be local that might need to do some of the work. That's starting, that's the construction season. So that was my only concern, was to make sure that was going to be.
I'll get offline with you on some direction on that as well too, because there was some discussion at one point of Public Works being able to help us, and although I know that's not necessarily a commitment, I did reach out to Doug, but I also said in my statement, if you're the wrong person,
Great.
send me elsewhere.
Okay, nice.
This isn't a pressure, this isn't a commitment, this is just, there was some thought that Public Works might be able to help us just with the digging and stuff. And I did, in fact, on a quick report, and I'm sorry, we'll come back to our original. An exciting thing was, as I was working with the McMullen building and with Bruce Jaffa, he really wants to help in having a construction company. He said that he would help with install. So if we can source the concrete or whatever, he doesn't want to do the digging, but if somebody will dig and it comes to him actually having somebody there to help install, possibly pour some concrete and so on, he's willing to do that to help us out.
That's amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So Marianne, to address your question about what I was talking about with the map, is that from my perspective with the grants administration, is the requirement is to turn in information about the properties that the grant has to do with. So a draft is perfectly acceptable as long as there's the map and the information about those properties that that the grant is about. It doesn't have to be a complete, doesn't have to necessarily be published. It has to be a part of the grant report. It has to be made available in that respect. And, adding to it, editing it down the road, it is, that's a future project. So I just wanted to be sure that there wasn't any pressure to feel like everything had to be added and completed and all of that, at that point. So there'll be time down the road.
So does that mean, like, if we hired someone who's going to design like a brochure, a map, like a fold-up map or something like that, if they had the basic design done and they had the properties listed as like I have in my draft thing that I made, even if every single one is not on there, if they have the design done, but nothing's been published yet because we're still like working on it, maybe adding people, that meets the requirements?
There has to be a draft with the properties and a map. So I don't know that like a blank template would suffice. I think what you have right now with just the list of the properties and then just connecting that with, a map with, the placement of where those are, I think that would suffice for it. And I don't believe that, not that it can't fit into the budget, but I don't believe it was specified that there would be a consultant or a designer hired specifically for the map. Because when the grant was originally kind of planned, and, anybody else feel free to step in and correct me if I'm wrong, the focus wasn't on the map part of it, it was really on the signage part of it. So, with understanding that the map would still need additional work. Does that sound right?
No, it does not sound right. Ms. Kingsland, from the very beginning, the map has been a part of it. The signs and the map correlate. That is the grant. Commissioner
Well, I think what we're trying to get to is that there's a simplicity that can exist. In other words, the only commitment we have, if I take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and I put a two-sided thing with 25 properties that looks just like what Commissioner Benoit just put together, that actually qualifies as, a narrative to a map. Obviously, what we're looking at now, I'm getting a quote right now from a local designer to put together a two-sided thing that will have an actual map on one side and then the narrative on the other. But to Ms. Kingsland's point, the only thing we're required to do is to put those 25 properties, all the narrative that's already been done, or just the titles and the date and where they are, and the 25 stories, if you will, whatever. We just have to produce something. And show that it's done, so we have a product that we can hand to somebody.
So basically, I can finalize. I can finalize that thing that I created.
Yep.
And that would actually meet.
That will meet the grant requirements. So I think what she's saying is that if we just meet the grant requirements and just focus on that first, then we can continue doing expansion. And actually, the website is where it's cool because you can always just keep the little paper map exactly like it is, real basic, the 25 properties, meet the grant, send people to the website, and you can add stuff to the website all the time. And then we're not having to reprint or redo anything right away. So you can, I think we're just trying to say what you've got is far and above where we thought we would be in that way right now.
Okay, Ms. Kingsland, is there a deadline for this? Like now, or? Because you said you were concerned.
Yeah, not any particular deadline. I just hadn't heard too much about it, so I wanted to be sure it wasn't something that was just sidelined, and then we're suddenly, down the road like, oh no, we have to get this done. So,
okay.
So no, this is perfect. I think you're all just on a great roll in making amazing progress. Yeah, does it answer all of your questions, Marianne?
I think so. I guess one question that answers my questions to you. I guess one question is, I had put up this list before of things to see if we could get people to volunteer to come up with little blurbs to add to my list on these other properties. And so, do you want to go forward with that? And if so, if we could, get people to commit to doing some of these, that would be great.
Marianne, I can commit to just getting together with everybody offline to just ask them, not more than 3 people at one time, that I could just ask them if they'd be willing to take something on. I don't know if we could decide it right now, but I can help you with that.
Okay, so basically you're saying you're going to figure out who's going to do what and let
I'll
me know.
take it on and delegate. Or
Okay,
ask.
cool. Thank you. And as far as I think I might have told you, let's see. I think those are all the things that I had. And my goal is that I'll get this big pile of signs on Monday, and I'll have to take a look. My goal is to take a look at the 10 that I had already worked with Peter on to make sure they really, really do look good, and all the edits that I asked for are done. Nothing else stands out, and I'm hoping that maybe I could I'll start sending those out to people to review, the property owners, SHPO, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe I could submit them for a lay down for a meeting. I kind of want to make sure property owners have seen them first before I show them to the public, and that they're not like, I hate that sign. No, we need to do something else, in which case I'll probably have to kill myself. But hopefully they've all agreed that they look good so far, the narrative, so there shouldn't be any big surprises for anybody.
Commissioner Benoit, when you send these drafts to the property owners themselves, and you're asking them to let us know if we've missed something important or if we have something that's incorrect, and you're opening the door for some editing, are you going to phrase it in such a way that it's very, very limited?
Yes, because really every single property owner has already seen a draft, and they've already sent back and said, yes, this looks good, because otherwise it wouldn't be into the sign designer yet. So it's not like they're going to be seeing this for the first time. So since they've already said, yes, I like this narrative, yes, I like these pictures, this all looks good, once it's on a sign, unless they see something that's like they missed before or something really jumps out at them, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Commissioner Ward?
I was going to amen that. I don't know that they've seen everything, they've approved the pictures, they've approved, now it comes down to artistic preference. And I think we leave that to the sign designer and the interior designer.
Yeah.
And
also, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's all a matter of preference. Unless they absolutely hate it, we can discuss it. But I think it needs to be pretty done.
Yeah.
This is just the final stamp of approval.
Right. The thing is, as we go through the edit process, every sign has had so many different people in, and every time they make an edit and I change it, I don't go back and ask all the other people, are you okay with that? No, because I'd be doing this till the end of time. So basically, I'm doing this stuff and finalizing it, and when somebody sees it again, there's probably been changes they didn't see before, but that is just the way it is. And so when the property owner sees it again, it may look a little different than what they saw the first time, but not a lot. You know, nothing substantial, or I would have probably sent it back to them. So my goal, my hope and dream is that everyone will be like, I love that. Nothing needs to be changed, and we'll be done with the sign. And then we'll have to vote on them, because before we send to the sign design or for the manufacturer, I would like to have a vote of the commission that says we're all good with all these signs.
Agreed.
Mistakes and all, anything we missed, we've all agreed they look good. So.
Commissioner LeBrecq?
I don't know if Sue was agreeing or not with those statements, but I saw you talking, but you're muted like me. I'm finally unmuted. I just wanted to say that, echoing what you said, otherwise we're just going to rename the project 1,000 Voices from Seward. Just kidding. But anyway, the actual grant that Ms. Kingsland provided me says under final products, it says a map that'll be distributed free of charge at Chamber of Commerce and area businesses. That is all that it says. So she's absolutely correct. Let's get the 25 done with something very similar to the product that you already have. We can do whatever we want to do online. I can enlist people to help us do some further stuff that says other areas you might want to visit. We can put that on the website. We can even put that on the bottom of the map. We can say, for additional content, go here. But this is it. keep it really simple. This meets our grant requirements. Thank you for pointing that
Yeah.
out.
Commissioner LeBrecq, my concern was that Ms. Kingsley commented that as far as using consultants for our map itself, that wasn't in the original grant, money-wise. And that's what I was kind of like arguing against, because that's been a
It
part.
actually was. I had $3,000 that was in there originally,
Okay,
so we're fine.
okay,
And again, they don't care as long as we don't go over the total amount, but we have to keep them in the loop. You can't go spend it, then turn back around and go, well, I changed everything. You have to say, Peter's estimate is $17,222.
yeah,
Here's this cost, what the other things are cost. Is that okay? And then they'll bless it, make sure that I keep administration apprised of what we're doing. But right now, we're on track. The dollar categories are different. But because, like, for example, we didn't think that the supplies would all come necessarily from the designer. He's going to produce the poster stuff. It'll be cheaper for them to do it. So the categories are different, but we're on track with the actual total amount.
great, thank you. Commissioner Benoit?
Yeah, I kept thinking about how this map would look like, I was thinking, if you were going to tell people in order of how to do this tour, how would you do that? Which was really hard because I walked all over the place and I can't figure out a good order to actually do this. But then SHPO came back in a comment on the library and museum sign, which at the very end I had asked to put in a sentence like, we hope you enjoy this walking tour. This is the beginning, the starting point or something. And she wrote back, she's like, why do we need a starting point? Why do we need an order? Why do we need to have any of that? And I thought, well, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Really, it would be much easier if we don't have anything. It doesn't have to be a starting point. Anybody who walks up to a sign anywhere that they didn't even know about this walking tour and they see a sign, they go, oh, what's that? And they come up. They can use their phone with the QR code and go, they can find out everything all right there on their phone and not have to go to the library first to get anything.
Yeah.
They don't even have to have a paper map in their hand. So I think that was a really good point. And so then I started thinking, okay, if you're not going to have any order or numbers or anything related to these properties, how do you do it? So an idea I had was like you could say, okay, all houses might be look like a little house or be a little triangle, and they could all be different colors. Like Sue's house could be a red triangle, and Tongi's house could be a purple triangle. So you have, and churches could be like a cross, and businesses could be like a square. Or you could say all National Register properties could be a star, and they'd be different colors. And that way you could just look at the map and at the list and figure out who's got what, but you have room to add more things over time. You just need more colors, basically. So just something like that was just a thought.
Commissioner Ward?
I like that idea, except for one thing. I think we do need a starting point. Only reason is because the cruise ships are going to want to send people somewhere. So if the museum was a good starting point, then after that, I think your idea is just fine. Just send them with, but I just see where people want to go, where do I go and get this? So
I did add something to the narrative for the library museum saying, like, enjoy the walking tour, you can get your map here or something like that. But it doesn't say it's the beginning. We could make it the starting point if you want.
Well, it doesn't have to be starting point, but it has to be a place where, the cruise liners could send people. The hotels could send people. It's just a single place where they could pick up a map. And I think the museum and library is the logical spot. After that, it could be anywhere. Or maybe they see it on a sign, and then they say, where do I get a map?
So, okay, I like the idea of not having a starting or an ending point, and here's why. A lot of the cruise passengers will get on the Seward bus that's provided for them that runs around town, and they're going to get off at various places, like where they stay, for example, or somewhere that they've heard about that they want to see. And you know, like, it could be, I believe they go to the chamber, so that would be one place we have the maps. We also have the maps at the, the terminal itself. When I worked the ships, we had information for the people departing, about Seward and where to go and what to see and whatnot. So that could be two places, and of course the library and museum, and maybe the shops. Commissioner LeBrecq?
Great idea, but just do a hybrid. Here's what I think. First of all, part of the project that originally I had spoken to tour companies, hotels, so on, everybody's willing to carry our map. That's the first.
Yeah.
Harbor 360, whoever, Hotel Stewart, all those people are all willing to carry our map. So that gets it in people's hands. However, I think you could still have a starting point, which at some point could be, say, the library that just says the honorary starting point or whatever, or a place where you can find a lot more information about this is the library. Go up into the library and read all Keffer's books. Read all this. Go see the earthquake film if they're still showing it.
That's a good
Suggest
idea.
the library is a great start, but these maps can go everywhere.
Yeah.
There's tons of people who are willing to carry them. Chamber of Commerce, Harbor 360, Marine Alaska Tours is willing to take some of them. All these people are willing to take our maps. So I think we'll get some pretty wide distribution of where you can pick them up. And then you could have an honorary starting point if you will. But Sue is right. Commissioner Ward is right. You don't need to feel like, oh, I'm stuck over here and I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. But it should be readily available. And I do like the idea of not having numbers, because if you're over here by number 30 or number 25 and you're like, I can't go over to number 1, that's like a long ways away. If they just go, oh, I can just start wherever, look, the closest one is really close to me, that's great. So I think it's a hybrid of those things.
Good points. Good points. And with that description, I totally support Commissioner Ward as well. I really like the narrative, Commissioner LeBrecq, about, checking out the history within the library and the museum and the earthquake film. I mean, that will draw them in as well, and that's a great idea. Commissioner Ward?
RBHS is planning or in the process of organizing manning the museum on Sundays. I mean, so that's under consideration. I know that I received the email, and I volunteered to work a Sunday. So they're in the process of looking at opening the museum. So I'd like to support them if they're going to do that.
Well, we're all becoming historians now, aren't we?
I've learned so much. It's amazing.
Me too. Okay, we have about 3 minutes.
Thank you, everybody, for all your work on this so far.
Oh, I feel so humble and so shy when you thank me for all my work. I mean, yeah, I have worked hard, but I know that it is so minuscule to what you have done, and for how difficult it has been for you with all the different edits that you've had to go through, and then coming back to us and being sensitive to us. I mean, you're a remarkable woman, and I honestly can say I don't believe that this project and this progress would be where it's at and would be as excellent as it is without you, Marianne. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
But I do think it's a group effort. We all are trying to tell the stories, and we're all putting our storytelling voice and our personalities into these, even though we're trying to make them one voice. One of the challenges has been, as all the edits come in, we don't want these signs to sound like research papers and dissertations. They need to tell a story that the average person can read and go, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to make sure that we don't, that the edits don't change things so much that it sucks the life out of it and the imagination.
Amen.
So that's been a little bit of a balancing act, but I feel like there's a lot of good stories in these narratives that are really interesting things I didn't know about before, and I hope people will find them really exciting about our history and and want to learn more and protect what we have. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Real quickly, I wanted to amen what Mary Ann just said. I tell you, my favorite picture of all the narrative is one of the bridges across Jefferson being blown up. Who knew that we were going to talk about that with the passenger depot? But looking at Lowell Creek and the impact on the town and why the passenger depot was moved. But Doug Capra, was that Doug Capra, Mary Ann?
Actually, in the process of doing the research for that, I got connected in with
it was just a great photo.
Wilfer, who was the great granddaughter of the pastor that started and built that Methodist church that turned out to be Res Art. She sent me a bunch of pictures for that, and as I'm like talking with her about this history, she's like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah. I got these pictures, and I'm blowing up the bridges and all that kind of stuff."
Right,
and
because so much debris had come down, it was flooding the town, so they blew the bridge up, and we got this great photo. It's just great. That was my favorite photo found. I mean, we found a lot of photos, Mary Ann, but seeing that bridge blowing up, I just never even imagined.
Yeah, so random things like, just getting connected with these people that have had information has been really fun. So
That was my favorite.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. I want to thank you, Commissioner Ward and Commissioner LeBrecq. In addition to thanking Mary Ann, thank you for being here today. Thank you for all the work that you both are investing and have invested. And I thank you, Ms. Kingsland, for joining us today and, just checking in to keep us on track. And I want to thank our clerk, Ms. Blue. And I want to thank George. I was going to say Charlie, and I knew that wasn't right. Thank you, George, for getting us connected. And with that,
I'll get hours to you, Valerie.
Okay. With that, I'm going to close. So have a great afternoon. We are closing this work session at 12:45.